It is 2019 World Series reunion weekend, and of course, there are a ton of legends showing up like Howie Kendrick, Adam Eaton, and all of the others as well. But will the World Series MVP be there? We'll discuss it after this.
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. And guys, when we talk about PrizePicks, I want you to know that this is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use code all lowercase LockedOnMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, that is code LockedOnMLB. And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. And of course, you can catch us over wherever you get your podcast. Just search Locked On Nationals there, including over on YouTube. And when you go to YouTube, hit that subscriber button, please. Later on in the show, we'll be previewing the Houston Astros against the Washington Nationals series. As if you remember last year, the Nationals and Davey Martinez back in Houston got into a very heated argument over the same exact rule that kind of screwed them over in the World Series in Game 6 of the World Series. If you remember Trey Turner running inside the base path, that was the last time they faced off against the Astros. But even then, before that, we all know the World Series. Now they're coming back in town, and Justin Verlander makes his season debut against the Washington Nationals against the Nats ace, MacKenzie Gore. You can't ask for a better start with tonight's matchup, so we'll preview that game on the third segment. Second segment, we're going to get you up to speed on the latest Nationals prospects report. There will be one of the big guys mentioned in this, as he has been killing the baseball, but it may not be who you think it is, so stay tuned for that second segment to get you all caught up on all the latest news and notes amongst Nationals prospects. But let's start off with talking 2019 World Series reunion weekend. This is going to be a big one. This is the first reunion of what are many to come following after this year. You have your 5-year anniversary of which this team won the World Series in unpredictable fashion, starting the year at 19-31, having a fraction of percentage to make a postseason run, and then ultimately not even win the World Series. The Nationals defeated all those odds, won the World Series, climbed the mountaintop, and of course, it is because of guys like Adam Eaton, guys like Howie Kendrick, who hit the game-winning home run in Game 7 of the World Series, guys like Anibal Sanchez, who pitched dominantly down the stretch and was also most crowned for what he did in the NLCS against the Cardinals. You have guys like Suzuki, Ryan Zimmerman, your Mr. National, all those different guys, but also a guy that was part of that was Stephen Strasburg. As we now know, Stephen Strasburg is officially retired from Major League Baseball. He will never pitch in a Washington Nationals uniform again, but in better news, he will never wear a uniform outside of the Washington Nationals. But as we know now, the Nationals and Stephen Strasburg, they have been at odds for quite some time. I thought that this was going to be kind of resolved, but a few days ago, Nationals Communications put out a tweet regarding the players that would be there. And obviously, there are still guys on this team who are on the 2019 roster, including Patrick Corbin, including Victor Robles. You even have Tanner Rainey, who's on that list. And of course, Sean Doolittle, who is on the coaching staff. Gerardo Parra, who's your first base coach now. And of course, a handful of others, including Davey Martinez and a couple others in the mix. But now, this weekend, you have guys returning to this team like Brian Dozier, Adam Eaton, Javi Guerra, Howie Kendrick, Anibal Sanchez, Kurt Suzuki, and of course, Ryan Zimmerman, and also third base coach, Bob Henley. Bob Henley was a fan favorite back in the day, but even then, you all get the point. There are a lot of legends returning to the Washington Nationals to see that. But there again was one person that was not on that list that was kind of the black eye of the list, if we're being honest. His name is Stephen Strasburg. This is someone who just retired again a week ago. And of course, we all know that they have been at odds for quite some time. But why isn't Strasburg going to be there? This is something I've been going back and forth in my head about for quite some time. Strasburg and the Nats, they were at odds for a long time, as we have covered a lot of times. And of course, you may be asking, who is there to blame? Yeah, I think a majority of the blame goes to the organization. It was unprofessional and relatively just a poor look in a dark cloud over the organization for quite some time. It shouldn't have ever been the way that it has been over the last year plus with Steven Strasburg. We all know he couldn't have pitched. You knew he couldn't pitch, and you knew he would never pitch again. But still, one thing has been very clear in my opinion. Let the guy retire. You know he's not going to pitch. You're not going to get the money back. They're not going to cut a deal, especially when you're a Scott Boras client. But this is all resolved now. Unprofessional or not, this is all done. This is now in the past, in which, by the way, it should have been in the past just a few months ago. But Strasburg, he's going to have his jersey retired someday here. He'll have a Steven Strasburg day over at Nationals Park. He'll get all of the opportunities to show up to the yard and take a standing ovation, but also now would be a really good time to get that standing ovation. Now that this is all resolved, it's time for Steven Strasburg to show up. This standoff and not showing up to a reunion, at least for now, for what we think, is a little foolish in my opinion. You may remember I tweeted this out a few days ago. Brian Dozier, who's on the Sports Junkies of 106.7 The Fan, he said that he thinks Steven Strasburg will show up, but ultimately, if you saw the list that the Nationals put out, Strasburg was not on that list. Maybe Brian Dozier knows something that we don't, but he also did not definitively say that he would be there. He just said, I think he will. At this point in time, this standoff and not showing up to a reunion, it's just foolish. What has happened to him has sucked. There's no doubt about it. That is partially on the Lerners, and in fact, it's mostly on the Lerner family, in my opinion. No doubt about it. The injury, the contract, and the faulty retirement by the organization. But ultimately, Steven Strasburg was the World Series MVP. When you think of the 2019 Washington Nationals, he's one of the first figures that comes up in your head for what he did down that run in the entirety of the postseason, even dating back to his days in 2017, what he did against the Chicago Cubs and that insane thriller of a series, having the flu game, quote unquote. Steven Strasburg means something to the fans that still rock the number 37 jersey. He's going to have a statue someday, maybe, outside of Nationals Park. And by the way, we should probably get that going. He means something here to the org, and most importantly, the fans. Steven Strasburg is not in the wrong here at all. But I definitely do think that he should show up to the reunion right after he retires. Take your standing ovation. And then, if you still have your organization kind of dissatisfaction rather, take that and just hold it in. Because at this point, it's just kind of like a dark cloud that just continues to hang over the organization for someone who meant so much. He was the guy that kind of flipped the page from the old Walgreens Nationals and all the jokes from back in the day in the 2000s. He was the guy that turned that page and actually made that ballpark an exciting place to go and watch a baseball game. Steven Strasburg was before Bryce Harper. He was before Juan Soto. He was before Anthony Rendon, before Trey Turner. He was the first superstar to come up through this national system. And of course, there really won't be much opportunity to do this over and over again. That is kind of the unfortunate truth. You don't really have all these reunion types. And of course, Steven Strasburg, as we all kind of know, I don't really think he's going to be coming back in the organization to be a coach. He just doesn't really strike me as someone who's going to come in and teach these younger guys how to do it. It's just not the way that he does it, and that's not his fault. That's his prerogative. But still, I think it's time for him to show up. It's time for him to show up to the reunion, tip your cap, show face, put all this drama in the past. And of course, there's going to be some things to work out. Of course, it's not going to be all pretty. But Steven Strasburg, you're an organization legend. You mean something to the fans. The 40,000 people that pack that ballpark, the 10,000 people each and every night that wear the number 37 jersey, don't do it for the Lerners. I understand you're upset. But also at the end of the day, you're getting paid a lot of money to pitch for this organization, and you have not pitched yet. You have not been pitching to what your contract says you should be, still being a top 10 paid pitcher in all of baseball. It should be different. And of course, to kind of put a bow on this, it is partially on the ownership and the way that they handled it. In fact, not partially, it is on them. But now that this is settled, You're going to be retired. You're going to have your retirement ceremony someday. Show up to the World Series reunion. It's not that big of a deal. Maybe he's on a family vacation in Hawaii. If that's the case, then fine. Have someone come out, put out a statement. I've got a pre-planned event, whatever it is. I don't necessarily think he owes us anything, but I do think you should show face. It's been a few years, man. You got to show face. You got to show this fan base that loves you so much to show up and do what's right, in my opinion. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast. And of course, you can catch us over on Twitter at Ryan Clary 11 and as well as YouTube. Just search Locked On Nationals there. That is where you'll find your latest Nationals content. Next, let me tell you guys about some of these prospects because, of course, as you know, it has been getting pretty damn good down in this Nats farm system, but also some guys have been off to some slow starts. So we'll discuss that. But of course, we got to tell you guys about our good friends over at FanDuel. And guys, it's playoff time in the NBA and NHL. Baseball's in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150, win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on an app that is safe, secure, and easy to use. When I'm in DC tonight, which by the way, FanDuel is live in DC now, I'm going to place a few bucks on a CJ Abrams home run against Justin Verlander. I don't know what the odds are, but I guarantee you they will be juicy. CJ Abrams been one of the better power hitters in all of baseball this season. I think it's a pretty smart bet, and you can do that with our friends on FanDuel. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Again, visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. It's now time for a Nationals minor league prospect stock report. And of course, we're going to take a trip down to AA and get you a stock up for former not first round pick, but top pick in the 2024 MLB or 2023 MLB draft from the University of Alabama. Someone who was wildly impressive last year in 2023 in his limited time in the minors, Andrew Pinckney. So far through 9 games in AA, this is someone who has kind of showed a lot of different skill sets so far within the national system. Andrew Pinckney, again, in 9 games, has 3 stolen bases. He's batting .316. He's got a .366 on-base percentage, a .395 slugging. That is a .761 OPS. I read you these stats because, number one, in minor league baseball, one thing that I kind of push to the side are numbers. If you look at Dylan Cruz's numbers right now, you might be saying, those aren't too great. But one thing that you can really look at from these numbers, and really even beyond all those, is how is this guy hitting? How does he play up against this competition? Because Andrew Pinckney last year, if you remember, was ripping the cover off the baseball at every single level that he went to. Even the few games that he was in AA Harrisburg, he did pretty damn well. Andrew Pinckney is going to be a guy that I think the Nationals will keep a pretty good look at as to kind of someone who may be one of those sleeper prospects. You've seen guys like Dalen Lyle, who kind of broke out last year, who was a 2021 second-round pick behind Brady House. Dalen Lyle was kind of one of those guys. I think Andrew Pinckney, who is a little bit older, a little bit more mature, and who honestly looks the part at this point, he could be one of those guys to kind of break out this season and maybe, who knows, makes his debut down the road within the next year or so. I think Andrew Pinckney is really starting to kind of blossom here with the Nationals. And really, you may look at it and say, well, this could be the new development staff on the Nationals organization. Maybe it's just Andrew Pinckney is a good player who finally got his opportunity with Alabama and ran with it. But Andrew Pinckney is starting to turn some eyes, and I think people within the organization are very high on this kid. So stock up for Andrew Pinckney. He's been very good. And of course, with the stock up, there's got to be a stock down. And this is for left-handed pitcher DJ Hers. And for one simple reason. DJ Hers has got one of the better changeups in all of minor league baseball. You saw it this last year in spring training. You saw him dice up a lot of different hitters, look really good at times, but also he looked really bad at times. And you may ask why. That is because of his command. So far in his 7 1/3 innings pitched, he's got 8 walks. this is not going to cut it. This is what will be his Achilles heel ultimately from trying to knock on the doorsteps of Major League Baseball. This is what's going to hold him back. He cannot walk 8 guys in the span of 7 1/3 innings pitch. It's just not going to happen. It's not feasible in today's game. You cannot be throwing balls at the rate that he has been so far. And of course, this has been an issue for quite some time now. When the Nationals got him in the trade last year with the Chicago Cubs, DJ Herz kind of was struggling a little bit. But even then, he has a lot of upside. And when he got traded to the Nationals, all of those struggles seem to be put to the side. He was dominant last year in Double-A with this team. And of course, one of the better pitchers down the stretch. And I thought he would even take a bigger jump this year. But so far, through a handful of starts, it has not been that way. He has been walking a lot of guys simply as to what he did in spring training. But also, he's still got the stuff. The stuff is not going anywhere. But I'm just going to be interested to see what the Nationals do with him. Is he going to be a starter? Is he going to be a bullpen guy? Because he's got the good stuff. And if you see with Mitchell Parker right now, the Nationals, they have been finding ways to get guys who have good stuff like Mitchell Parker, like Jake Irvin, to kind of thrive in their system. Can they do the same with DJ Herz? It has not clicked here through the first few starts of the season in AAA, but still, you can't walk as many guys as he has been. That has been an issue of his, and of course, it's an issue of his now. Speaking of the other side of the coin with that trade, this is someone we don't really talk about all too much, but a stock up for Kevin Midday. Kevin Midday was also in that trade when you sent Jeimer Candelario to the Chicago Cubs. You got back DJ Herz and Kevin Midday, the shortstop prospect who is going to be a glove-first kind of guy. Well, think of the glove. It's still there. He's still very good defensively. But what he has been doing at the plate this season in Double-A has been ultra impressive for me. Batting .333, having an .871 OPS through 11 games so far in Double-A. And of course, what's most impressive, 11 walks to 9 strikeouts in those 11 games. If you can get someone like a Kevin Midday to kind of develop his swing, develop an offensive strategy here at the plate, and become a mainstay in this Nationals lineup, that would be huge. Because a lot of people are actually very high on Kevin Midday. I remember reading something, I believe, from J.J. Cooper over in the offseason, and Kevin Midday was really high on his board because of the different tools that he has. This is someone who's going to be a plus defensive shortstop in the big leagues when he makes it someday. The big question is, how bad will his bat hold him back? So far, his bat is really just carrying him through the first 11 games. And again, it's 11 games. He's not hitting for power, but really what is the most impressive thing? He's walking more than he's striking out, and he's not really striking out at a rate that is alarming whatsoever. Only 9 strikeouts in those 11 games, getting a high batting average, getting on base at an elite rate at this point. Over 50% of his at-bats he has gotten on base. That is enough for me. I need to see just a little bit more consistency from Kevin Midday, but still, so far this season, he has been very good, very consistent. He's going to be someone that I'll be keeping an eye on moving forward and see if he can keep up these hot starts. Stock down for Yohandy Morales, second-round pick out of the University of Miami this year. Good news is he's finally hit his first home run with the Washington Nationals. Bad news, he's not doing so hot other than that this season. He's got 16 strikeouts through the first 11 games down at Double-A after ripping the cover off the baseball for the entire season for only, 40-plus games last year within the national system. Yohandy Morales has been off to a really slow start this year, but also, in good news, he has been playing solid defense over at third base. We'll see him move over to the first base at some point as well. You have Brady House at that same level also. But Yohandy Morales has been off to a little bit of a slow start, having a .608 OPS. His slugging is down. His on-base percentage is down. And, of course, his batting average is below 200. But, again, this is a small sample size. It's just 11 games. Yohandy Morales will kill the baseball as he is now a top 100 prospect in all of baseball. That's got to make you feel pretty damn good. Speaking of top 100 prospects in baseball, let's get you a stock up for 2021 first-round pick Brady House. Through 11 games in Double-A, this guy is batting .318, has a .375 on-base percentage, a .477 slug, and an .852 OPS. In last night's contest, he had a triple and a home run. That was a line drive, opposite field home run. I did not see the exit velo on that. I would be stunned if that thing was less than 108 miles per hour. It was a rocket ship to, again, opposite field, right field. line drive. It got out in a hurry. It was not even close. Brady House has been killing the baseball. And this stat line, this is kind of what I'm going to expect from Brady House. Maybe even a little bit of a higher slugging percentage. I think Brady House is going to bat over 300 in the big leagues. I think he's going to have a slugging percentage around 475 to even 480, 490 in that territory. And this is going to be someone who will be a home run threat at any given moment. Brady House has been killing the baseball. He's been just what you want to see. Very good defensively over at third base. He has a rocket arm over at the hot corner. He's a wall back there defensively as well. Brady House is starting to check all the different boxes. I would not be surprised to see Brady House moved up to AAA even before a guy like Yo-Yo Morales. Brady House, again, very talented at the plate. I would not be surprised if you see by the end of this season, people in the organization and people around Major League Baseball will say, this guy's got the best hit tool in the Nationals prospect as far as Nationals prospects go. And yes, that includes Dylan Cruz, who right now is a 70 grade hit tool. Something about Brady House putting the ball in play, not really striking out all too much, is a little bit pretty damn good if you look at it. I'm not saying that he's going to be better than Dylan Cruz as far as hit tool goes, but I would not be surprised because Brady House, he's starting to bat at a pretty consistent rate, putting the ball in play at a very high rate. Those all bode well for a third baseman in Major League Baseball. So don't be surprised if Brady House, by the end of the season, is going to be one of the better hitters in the Nationals organization. Thank you all for making Locked On Nats your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. Next, let's tell you guys about this big game tonight. MacKenzie Gore against Justin Verlander. Let's go. Before that, let's tell you guys about our friends over at PrizePicks. And guys, of course, spring training is over and baseball season is officially underway. Don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond in your PrizePicks entries, whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs. Take your pick of more or less and add them to your PrizePicks entry to get today. Get on the playoff action and win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks as you and the world's best players take the game to a new level during basketball's postseason. Of course, the playoffs begin on April 20th, which is tomorrow, and the play-in has already started. You have games tonight. So PrizePicks has something for every sports fan, from baseball and basketball to League of Legends and everything in between. You can pick LeBron, Shohei Ohtani, and of course, Connor McDavid in the NHL, and whoever you want. I want you guys to do this because it's so much fun. And of course, all you have to do is download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, that is code LOCKEDONMLB. Again, download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100 with our friends over at PrizePicks. Thank you all for making Locked On Nats your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. Justin Verlander against MacKenzie Gore. What a treat Nationals Park will have tonight for you. Justin Verlander started off the season with a little bit of shoulder fatigue, was placed on the 15-day IL with the Houston Astros, makes his season debut tonight against the Washington Nationals. You can't ask for a better matchup, in my opinion. Kind of the old multiple-time Cy Young winner, multiple-time World Series winner, Justin Verlander, makes his return to Washington Nationals Park. And of course, you're going up against the Nationals ace. That is MacKenzie Gore. This is going to be a very fun game tonight. I will be there in attendance. MacKenzie Gore, the Nats ace, against Justin Verlander, again, coming off the shoulder fatigueness from spring training. I'm not going to say that this is going to be probably one of the better games of the year, but I'm also willing to go that way. The Houston Astros have been off to a really slow start so far, but of course, you have guys like Jose Altuve, who is killing the baseball right now, hitting at a high rate. And of course, they got all their other guys. You got Alex Bregman still. You got all the different pieces. Yordan Alvarez, all the different guys that you should be afraid of, you should still be afraid of. But MacKenzie Gore has been the Nationals' best pitcher so far this season, in my opinion. You can even talk about Jake Irvin being that guy. I still think it's MacKenzie Gore. He's just been more consistent overall. And of course, this is the matchup that we have all been waiting for all season long. It's going to be a fireworks night at Nationals Park, too. It's going to be a nice night, not be too hot, won't be too cold. It'll be just perfect in the mid-60s around first pitch. You can't ask for a better night at the ballpark. And then, of course, that'll be topped off with hopefully a Nationals win and then a little firework night at Nats Park. So it'll be a good game. Keys to the game will be the Nats. They got to hop on Justin Verlander early and stay out of that Astros bullpen. Thank you all for making Locked On Nats your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. I will catch you guys on Monday. You enjoy the show. That is when we will get you a Nats stock report for the Big League Club. You will not want to miss it, as it is a big weekend. If the Nats sweep this, they could be over 500 for the first time in what feels like forever. I'll catch you on the other hand. Have a good one. Go Nats.